know that Sam will not be joining us today, and I believe Candace will also not be joining us. Am I missing anybody else?
Artie Lale is out ill, so I will be taking his place. I'm Deborah DeGroff.
Thank you, Deborah. Do we know if Monique will be joining today?
I have not heard anything from her yet.
Okay. Regardless, it looks like we have a quorum with the 4 of us, so
Correct.
we'll get started in just a minute. I do need to recuse myself from one deal, so we will need Monique. Actually, Ryan, you have Sam's proxy.
Yes,
Is that right?
yes, that's correct, Anthea.
Okay. Great. Well, it is top of the hour, 1 o'clock. Thank you all for joining. My name is Anthea Martin. I'm the chair of the State Housing Board. Today, we are going to go through several projects. I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting to order and start with a request from the board for a motion to approve the August 2023 meeting votes.
So moved. This is LaDawn.
I second James Martinez.
Thank you, LaDawn. Thank you, James. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you all for that. Next, I'd like to turn it over to Allison George for the director comments. Okay. Allison, you might be on mute.
I am. Hi, Anthea. How are you?
Good, thanks. Yourself?
I'm sorry, you're cutting out. Maybe it's my connection.
Instead of good, thank you. Yourself?
Oh, good, good, good.
Sorry, Allison, I don't know if you heard me, but I turned it over to you for your director comments and budget update.
I must have joined exactly on time. So much so on time that I missed that. Okay. Well, I will go ahead and get started then. Thank you, Anthea. I am in a little bit different location. I am in Annapolis, Maryland at a community development conference, which is has been very good and really eye-opening in many ways as we look at all the different things happening. Exactly, go Davey. As we see all that's happening around our country. So with that, I will go ahead and get started with some updates. So we are plugging along on our contract improvement period. Andrew and his team are starting to diligently work on assessing our application and improvements that we can be making to streamline things, clarify things, make things more transparent. With that, they did a survey, and so that survey has now closed. And taking that feedback in, looking at things that can really be improved upon, how we can maximize our impact with our funding that we have. How can we best support the projects that we're investing in? And so the work with the State Housing Board is critical to all of that. So we'll continue to provide updates for all of you as we're moving forward. We're also doing a survey for our contract. Our loan template in particular. I think you've heard me mention that we have 60 different funding sources, and those templates need to be updated and kept track of. And so what this effort is really focused on isn't necessarily all those 60 different templates, but our loan template in particular, so that we can really focus on the areas that add the most time in our processes, because it is our goal to work with our stakeholders and really ensure that we are streamlining and meeting those expectations with the executive order. 90 days is a very short timeline for negotiating loans. And so we're trying to streamline that and create a document together with our stakeholders that meet the state expectations, but then also give our stakeholders a greater level of understanding of what our documents are, what they're achieving, and what the state needs in that process. With that, I also wanted to mention Wednesday, together with our stakeholders based on that survey, we are doing an in-person, actually some virtual for some folks that won't be able to make it in person, but sitting down and just going through that loan template so we can move things forward and work toward the 120-day goal by December 31st, but the ultimate goal of 90 days in moving these things through. And of course, that's from the handoff from our application side through the execution of the document. So I think we've got a few other things that will be really exciting to share with you in the coming months. With that said, I want to thank Candace Payne, our board member. She's going to be participating in that loan template process. So thank you so much, Candace, for stepping up and working with us hand in hand to improve these processes. So that is much appreciated. I also wanted to ask Rick to provide an update. Rick, are you on the line, and do you want to provide your update?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Allison. Madam Chair, members of the State Housing Board, and let me just begin by, I saw the news about Sam Betters and his partner escaping the recent earthquake in Marrakesh, Morocco. So I think they're back in Colorado, safe, and always glad to hear that. I wanted to acknowledge that. But I also have an announcement. If you haven't already heard, this week I announced my retirement from state service. So the good news is that I will continue to serve as executive director, likely through December. I won't transition out until January. The governor's office is planning a full recruitment of a replacement for a future DOLA executive director. But I just wanted the State Housing Board members to be aware of that. Certainly, I'm still around, and just to make sure that everyone's aware, certainly the internal staff, DOH team, as well as the entire DOLA family has been made aware. So it's been a great 5 years, hard to believe if you count the years, and certainly the work that you've committed yourself to, past members as well as current, serving as State Housing Board members, has been just amazing. A tremendous amount of commitment and dedication to the affordable housing development community here in our state. So I just wanted to share that information with you. And I will be joining you on this call for the rest of the meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Congratulations, Mr. Garcia. That is amazing news on your retirement. I hope you have lots of good, fun plans ahead of you. And just thank you for your service for the past 5 years. I don't know the numbers, but the past 5 years at the state level, all of the work that has been done under your leadership has been phenomenal. So
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you again for your service. With that, go ahead and let's get into the project application review stage. But before I do that, I'd like to ask the board members if they have any questions or comments for Allison or Mr. Garcia. Okay, hearing none. Let's go ahead and start with the borough. Presenting is going to be Wayne McClary.
Okay, so for the Burrell, this is formerly known as Chestnut Lofts. It's a supplemental funding request. And to talk more about that, didn't see her on the line, but hopefully we have Steph Kafanchi and also Robin Hickey and maybe Jeff Shanahan available as well.
Hi there. Yes, I am here. Thanks for having us today, and thanks, Wayne, for the work you've done on this. You may remember this project as the Chestnut Lofts. It's a 49-unit condominium project that's in 5 Points. It is in the Rhino Arts District, directly on 35th and Chestnut, directly on the Art Walk and Riverwalk right there. Beautiful location, absolutely amazing views from there. It is a mix of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom condominiums. There are 3 commercial units on the ground floor, which will be sold to art-related organizations in the community at a reduced cost. The project has had all the delays that everybody is very used to at this point, with supply chain issues and construction delays, etc. Most impactful for this project, though, has been the interest rates. Interest rates have increased on both the construction side and then, of course, also on the mortgage side, which are creating substantial gaps. We've gone back to the city, who is committing more dollars. We have brought in additional philanthropic dollars here in the form of some PRI loans that have come in to have some to relieve a little bit of the interest carry for us. And we still have those gaps. And so that is why we are back here today. We've named it the Burrell in honor of Charlie Burrell, who is a jazz musician in 5 Points and was the first African-American member of the State Symphony. He's a bass player, and so you'll see that the logo for the Burrell looks like a bass, and it's a B. It's really exciting. He's 102 and has been to visit the building and be part of our some of our celebrations so far. So it's really exciting to be able to honor him through this project. Any additions, Robin or Jeff, if you're here?
I don't have anything to add.
Any questions from the board or staff?
Jessica, who's your construction lender?
It's First Western.
And I'm asking about this just because I've seen on at least my side of the business that the construction lending space has been really volatile. Have they been your anticipated construction lender since the start, or was that a change for you?
No, they were at the start. They were also our lender on Latela, which was our previous construction or condo project. And came in for us on that project when it was right at the very beginning of the lockdown. We had another lender pull out and they came in. And so they've been a good partner to us, but on this particular project, that rate just floated, too far up, really creating some substantial gaps. And we went to the city and have brought in some lending on the city side at a lower interest rate. And then also we have some PRI funds from Gary Community Ventures, from the Bohemian Fund, and from the Gates Family Foundation that have really been able to save us some funding there as well.
And I would also add we have a subordinate loan from Chai as well.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Great. And for the benefit of the board, can you share with us what the rates were when you were first performing this project versus what they are now?
Robin, do you remember that?
So our developer, Jeff Shanahan, is the one who takes out the construction loan for the project. I do think that at closing it was 3.5%, and it's floated. As of the day we submitted the supplemental funding request, it was 7.25. My presumption is that it's higher now.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
On the mortgage side, of course, we probably performed this at about 4%. And of course, we've got more than 7% interest rates at this point. And for every quarter point that interest has gone up, it's created an $8,000 gap. So over that time period where we've seen interest rates go up from 3.5% to over 7%, you can see what giant gaps we're putting in place just on the sales side.
Yes, that's really helpful information. Thank you. Any questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Stefka and Robin. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Belmar Grove, and presenting is Pamela Gibson.
Thank you. From Metro West Housing Solutions, I'd like to introduce Brenda Lee Connors and Robin Kearns.
Hi, this is Brenda Lee Connors, or Bren, and unfortunately, Robin couldn't make it today. He got called into a meeting with the city engineers on our other project, and to keep that moving, I said I would take this. So thank you for your consideration of Belmar Groves. This is a 118 unit existing tax credit property that we re-syndicated and are doing major rehab and simultaneously lowering the affordability brackets on this. Currently the LURA as the existing property was all of the units at 60% AMI, and what we've done is something that made Pam's life very miserable, because we did an internal restriction that doesn't show up on the existing LURA because it was an existing LURA, but we're restricting units at 30, 40, and 50% to bring the overall average down to 50% of the area median income. So in order to do that, we are coming to you to request funding. On the renovation sides, the image you can see is a rendering of what the buildings will look like. They currently are a lovely 1972 era development with the mansard roofs and everything you can imagine. So exterior renovations will be basically a complete overhaul, but that will help a lot, not just in appearance, but in safety, because the existing mansard roofs have absolutely zero fire blocking in them. They run down the entire length of the building. So getting those off is going to be a huge safety improvement. We're also doing quite a bit of exterior landscaping and repaving of sidewalks and grounds to add a lot of accessibility. We're adding some type A accessible units and then quite a few sensory accessible units. On the interiors, we're completely redoing kitchens and bathrooms, and then updating fixtures, light fixtures, plumbing fixtures, flooring, all of that sort of stuff. So it's about a 2-year project in 4 phases, because we are doing it while keeping most of the residents in place. So we were able to empty 3 units that are in construction now, and then each phase is about 6 months long. So happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Brenda Lee. Nancy?
Yes, thank you. You mentioned, and it was going to be part of my question, that people are living there now. So as you do your reconstruction, are you going to have people, I don't know, there used to be this game where you move one block and then move another one into it. So are you going to have people moving around a lot, or how is that going to work? That's question 1.
Yeah. So in prep for this, we actually stopped leasing apartments as they turned over last summer, so that we were able to collect up quite a few vacancies. And this first phase, which is 3 buildings, is 32 apartments. We were able to house most of the people in the vacant buildings, and then a handful went to one of our sister properties that's about 2 blocks away, and then a small group went to one of our senior properties. They were all seniors who actually we think may choose to just stay there because of the features that are there. And then the idea is that outside of this first phase, most people will move once. So when we move to the second phase, like you said, we'll take the people in those second phase buildings and just move them over to the first phase building. So they'll just move once. Other than the people who moved offsite will move back so that we keep within the temporary relocation timeframe.
It sounds like a logistic nightmare.
And that's why we hire a professional company.
Right. And it says in materials, of course, that there's 118 units, and this certainly doesn't look like 118 units. So this this visual that we have in front of us now is not the whole thing. Is that right?
Yeah, it's 10 residential buildings and a community building.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I know it's needed, so thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you, Brenda Lee. Appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
And next up is Ridgegate Senior, and Wayne McClare is presenting.
Yes, for Ridgegate Senior, presenting now is Luke Cannon from Coble & Company.
Thank you, Wayne, and thank you for everyone's time today. We really appreciate your attention and your support. We're bringing forth today Ridgegate Parkway Affordable. This is a 101 unit senior affordable project located in Lone Tree. It is on the east side of I-25 in the area known as the central couplet of the Ridgegate Master Development on the east side. Ridgegate Parkway dissects about 2 miles to the east of 25, creating a piece of land that is slated for development as part of the overall Ridgegate Master Plan. This parcel in particular is on the far east side of the couplet. And what you see here is a picture, a rendering of the property. As I mentioned before, 101 units from AMI levels, serving 30% to the 80% AMI range for an average blend of 56%. They will all be housed in this single building, 70 tuck under parking spaces, as well as 38 surface level spaces. We are looking to start construction hopefully this year. We have the support of the Douglas County Housing Partnership. We will be entering into an SLP with that group, as well as a low interest loan from Douglas County Housing Partnership, utilizing their CDBG funds, as well as support from the city of Lone Tree and their fee waiver passed with projects that are 100% affordable, are eligible to waive all city permits and fees. As I mentioned earlier, well, I didn't mention earlier, we're hoping to conduct a second phase in the future on this project of 64 units. And we're really trying to set this up for a second project at a later date. But the project is located about half a mile walk from a new King Soopers that is slated to start construction sometime next year, as well as some market rate multifamily units and some for sale houses in the nearby vicinity, as well as roughly a 1.5 mile location away from Ridgegate Station, RTD's light rail stop, which is accessible to all residents in this community via Lone Tree's free on-service, on-demand Lone Tree Link, which provides transportation for all residents to anywhere within the city limits of Lone Tree. And with that, I will turn it over for questions.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. First of all, I wish we could have a bus system like that everywhere. Wouldn't that be really nice? So the location sounds great. And I'm wondering, kind of being sensitive to senior issues, will there be any services there, or is that just completely on your own? And when you start needing more services, you'll have to move? Because, you know, some of us are, well, we're all aging, but, you know, some of us are starting to need more services.
Sure. No, there will not be any services provided at this facility. It is age restricted, but independent living. You know, we are able to provide meeting spaces for people that start to need and look for services. We've taken a strategic approach with planning our leasing office to provide a separate meeting room that residents can use, when that time may come. But as far as services provided, there will not be any provided at this property. It is simply for housing only.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Liz. It looks like your LOI for Wells is from July. Has that been updated? Do you have any concerns about rates or terms moving at all?
We certainly do have concerns about rates moving. We have been in touch, and sorry, I should have said hello. Nice to see you again. We have been in touch with them with regards to current pricing. That has not moved. Rates we have been adjusting as we move forward through this process, like everyone else, and those have been going up, creating challenges. But right now, Wells is basically holding to their spreads and their pricing, and we expect that to continue through closing.
Okay, great. So, I guess my question too was just wondering if you needed a cushion in here or you felt comfortable with the amount that you're requesting, just given where pricing is today.
Realistically, we are now, I believe, experiencing a gap based on the interest rate increases we've seen over the past couple of weeks now that have continued, realistically over the last 6 months. So we are, as with every project, looking for any additional sources we could potentially find, and then what we can do potentially with the building from a value engineering standpoint. But as of right now, we're actively seeking solutions to try to close the gap.
Okay, and your deferred developer fee is in the 50% range, almost 60%. You've got a little bit of room in there as well. Just want to make sure you've got enough of a cushion and that the amount you're asking for is reasonable and you're going to be able to get to closing with what's being provided.
Certainly, we are, yes, I think right now we feel, I believe we're at 50% on the deferred developer fee, maybe a little higher than that right now. We would certainly love any additional funds if we could find them. But yes, I would say right now we're pushing forward. We are in for permit. We're pricing 75% CDs, so we're hoping to find potentially some pathway there as well. But we're kicking over every stone right now to try to close the gap here and get this project closed.
Okay, great. Thank you, Lou. And Deborah, I saw your hand raised.
Yeah, I was just going to speak on behalf of Artie that, we are contributing the $800,000 in CDBG funds, and we are wholeheartedly in the special limited partnership, so we're committed to both.
And I can't speak highly enough of the partnership we have with Douglas County. They've been an incredible partner. We worked with them on a previous affordable project in Lone Tree, and they're just a great partner, and we really appreciate their support.
Thank you.
Yeah, and this is Adam Morgan, financial consultant on the project. I know, I think Luke mentioned, we're seeing those interest rate hikes there. We are, right now we're pretty much at the most deferred fee you can. Maybe we can squeeze a little bit more, but the investor will start to have concerns there. So yeah, we're seeking, either value engineering or Prop 123, or maybe looking at some other sources to kind of fill that last little piece.
Any other questions from the board? All right, well, thank you, Lou. Thanks, Adam. We appreciate the presentation.
Thank you.
Next up is Residences on Acoma, and I need to recuse myself from this one. Presenting is Demetra English.
Hi, today we have Hassan Latif, Khalil Gabran, Candace Force White, and Darcy McClure to present the project.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and State Housing Board members. I'm Hassan Latif, founder of Second Chance Center, and we're pleased to present to you Residences at Acoma, our 128-unit development located at 1501 South Acoma in Denver. As a result of Enterprise Community Partners' Equitable Path Forward initiative, we've been given an opportunity as a BIPOC founded and led organization to step into the role of developer and sole GP, having Enterprise stand in as guarantor for this project. looking to close in December of this year. Fortunately, we have kept the same partners in place that helped bring our first PSH project to fruition, Providence at the Heights, or PATH, in Aurora, the first in Aurora, which we opened in February of 2020. Blue Line developers who served as co-general partners at PATH remain as development consultants on this project. Likewise, we're fortunate to have WellPower partnering with us to provide services to the 60 PSH units at 30% AMI or less, and extend the offering of some services to the residents of the 68 units, which will be filled by up to 60% AMI. We're making available these units for workforce housing, serving the participants of our apprenticeship readiness program, as well as eligible general public. We've learned a great deal over the 3.5 years PATH has been opened and are very proud of its success and acceptance in the community. Likewise, we are excited at the opportunities our apprenticeship participants to break generational cycles of poverty and subsequent trauma by providing mortgage-paying career pathways, which includes supportive housing. Dorothy McClure from Blue Line can speak to the funding stacks and our needs for this project, and Candace Boyes is here to answer any questions related to the workforce housing residents.
Thanks, Hassan. I would just like to jump in here. Good afternoon. Thank you for your consideration of our request for the residences on Acoma. Our initial request was $8.7 million because that is what the project needs to be able to cover the development budget, cover the interest rate increases we're seeing, and to provide adequate cash flow from the deal to contribute toward the services that will be provided on site. And Candace, I don't know if you want to jump in with any information about population served.
At this time, I think we've covered it. I'm happy to answer any additional questions anyone may have.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Nancy?
Thank you. And I want to give a shout out to Hassan. I just want to kind of, before I ask my question, I just want to say that I know Hassan from way back when he was working out of a little dinky office off of Colfax. And I can tell you all that I've never met anybody who is more dedicated to helping people and to really providing supports for folks than Hassan. He's just an amazing person.
Thank you so much, Nancy. My office wasn't that dinky. Come on now.
Well, I know, but compared to what you're doing now,
thank you.
It was less impressive, but it was impressive. But at any rate, so I'm really, so this is a different focus, is it, than the Second Chance Center, from what PATH, I think it's called. So it's a different focus than that, but still providing stabilized housing to families. Will there be, as I asked the other group, will there be supports and counseling and other kinds of services available for folks?
Absolutely. Like I said, we were really happy to be able to partner with WellPower. So they're opening up the services that they provide in the form of groups and support groups and those kinds of things to the residents of the other 68 units. But we also will have care managers on staff to address the needs of those workforce housing units and provide services for them as well. So this is really a wraparound project, like we're accustomed to doing, Nancy. And like I said, the most exciting part for me is the opportunity for folks to go through this apprenticeship readiness program, which we have 3 years of support from industry companies here in Colorado for our folks. We're being placed in these kinds of career opportunities that we look forward to, many of them processing through residences on Acoma and becoming homeowners in Denver metropolitan area. Many of our client partners have already done that. And we look forward to this being a bridge for others to become homeowners as well. We think that's the key to breaking these cycles, and we're pretty excited about that.
Thank you.
Ryan.
Thanks, Anthea. Good afternoon, sir. First off, I want to just completely applaud your efforts with regard to this sector of our community.
Thank you, sir.
With that being said, sir, I may have missed it, but piggybacking off of Nancy's question, do you have behavioral health or mental health resources or access to mental health resources for the residents of this development? And I'm looking at it through the lens of not just behavioral health, but also to hopefully stave off varying levels of recidivism with regard to the population at hand.
Absolutely. Can I have Ms. Borges address that question, please, Candace?
Absolutely. Thank you for that question. Our partnership with WellPower, coupled with the community care collaborative that we have built here at Second Chance Center, will allow us to provide behavioral health services to all residents, both in the workforce development as well as the permanent supportive, in addition to a wide range of programs. And we build wellness into all of those programs. And so to give you an example, we do yoga. We do acupuncture detox. We have group as well as one-on-one substance use disorder therapy, anger management, domestic violence, and that is provided by a range of therapists, the majority of them of color and representing the particular demographic that we serve to remove barriers to access and the stigma that can sometimes accompany those services.
And that's fantastic. Thank you both for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Moses.
Rick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hello, folks. I'm Rick Garcia. I'm the Executive Director of the Department of Local Affairs. My question is probably more for staff. I thought I heard one of the presenters indicate that they needed the full amount that was requested in the application, and it seems the recommendation is about $2 million less. Am I tracking that correctly? And if so, what's the staff's recommendation that this project will positively cash flow and be able to meet the development expenses?
Wayne, I'll let you speak to that first, and then Rick, I'll follow up after that.
Thank you.
And you want me to speak on that one?
Yep, please.
Yes. Rick, on this one, we looked at this one as far as underwriting quite a bit. And essentially, the original request that came in last year when we're looking at was about 4.7 million. Due to dictates of the economic environment, that request had grown. But last summer, when we were first initially looking at this, we were anticipating a request of about $4.5 million, $5 million. When the numbers came in this spring, conditions had changed where they needed quite a bit more of our money. And so essentially that led to a discussion with myself and my superiors, Andrew and ultimately with Allison and yourself. And essentially what we're looking at was trying to balance meet the needs of this particular applicant, as well as making sure that we address the greater needs of the entire state of Colorado. So keeping in mind that representing DOH, we are not just focused on serving the needs of the Seminole County, Denver metro area, but also making sure that we can support the Durangos and the Montroses of our funding as well. So it was kind of a back and forth with us with the applicant and trying to fine tune exactly how much funds that we could give to this project and grant to this project in order to also ensure that they can meet their supportive services to support a vulnerable population, as well as adequately serve the justice involved nature of the applicants and the tenants for this project. So it was not a decision that was reached lightly, but it was quite a bit of analysis and going back and forth at it. And essentially we came out to a number that's probably less comfortable than what the applicant was attuned to, but we're also making sure that we're serving the greater needs of Colorado.
Yep. Rick, following on that, largely, overall budget considerations, our published per unit funding guidelines, and trying to balance all of the applications that we have in process with limited resources led to the recommendation of 6.3 million. The applicant indicated that they had been seeking additional funds from the city and county of Denver, as well as some congressional directed spending to close that gap.
Thank you for those additional details. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay. Thanks again, all. Next up is the Marshall Homes Supportive Housing, and presenting is Pamela Gibson.
Yes, so we have Darcy McClure with Blue Line Development and Scott Shields with a Family Tree.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the State Housing Board. I'm Scott Shields, Chief Executive Officer of Family Tree, and we appreciate the opportunity to be with you here this afternoon to talk about the Marshall Homes development. For those not familiar, though, Family Tree has been here in the Denver metro community since 1976, working on the interconnected issues of child abuse and neglect, domestic violence, and homelessness. That's our mission, that's our purpose, and again, we've been doing that for nearly 47 years. The particular project and site we're talking about today is located on a piece of land located generally at 5549 Marshall Street in Arvada, Colorado. This is a site and a property that Family Tree has owned for nearly 30 years. And as we evaluated how to best repurpose and reinvest this asset back into the community, we looked at a number of things, but notably we focused on the issues of homelessness that were surging within our community over many years. But in particular, as we look at 2023 compared to 2022, we have a 73% increase of people experiencing homelessness within Jefferson County. And for those experiencing chronic homelessness, that has gone up 153%. When we combine the need and demand in our community with a core belief at Family Tree that everyone needs a safe place to call home, that really led us to the decision to redevelop this site that currently supports higher density than its current use. We are looking to put a significant investment into the community with 85 units of permanent supportive housing for people experiencing homelessness and those at 30% area median income or lower. We'll have on-site comprehensive and proven services to help residents work toward higher levels of success and their housing stability. And we believe these are all critical steps and will make significant progress on the issue of homelessness, not only in Arvada, but throughout Jefferson County in particular on the western side of the metro region. So with that, I'll turn it over to Darcy McClure at Blue Line Development, our developer partner, to add some more context.
Thanks, Scott. Good afternoon, everyone. So for Marshall Homes, as you can see in your packet, our capital stack includes a first mortgage from R4 Capital. We've got some money in there from Impact Development Fund, the Arvada Housing Authority, Jefferson County, as well as a deferred developer fee. And while our staff recommended amount of funding for this project is below our request, it's not quite as big of a gap as we were talking about on the last project. We have been able to narrow that gap a little bit. Last evening, the Arvada City Council reduced the system development charges across the board for all developments. So that's going to help us somewhat with the gap, but we are still looking at nearly a $500,000 gap. So we appreciate the state's consideration of this, and we'll continue to look to ways to fill that gap.
Thank you, Scott and Darcy. Do we have any questions from the board? All right. Thanks again. Next up is Fourth Southwest Bank. And presenting today, this is an AHIF 23 request, so I'm going to turn it over to Andrew Freitas.
Thanks, Anthea. Sorry about that. I am also traveling at a conference in La Junta, so just kind of getting my bearings about me. Good afternoon. The next four programs or projects we'll be presenting are additional award recommendations for the Senate Bill 22-159 revolving loan funds appropriation we received last year. We are branding this our Affordable Housing Investment Fund, or AHIF 23 program. And the first presentation we have is from First Southwest Bank. I believe we have Kent on the line, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Andrew, I am. Thanks. Actually, I was going to ask Christy to present. She's prepared to present, but
great.
I am available to answer questions and happy to be on. Thanks. Christy, are you there? Is she on? Is she? I thought she was.
Okay. Hello.
Oh, okay, Christy. Thanks.
Sorry, having some audio issues. So thank you. I am Christy Escobar. I'm the Chief Credit Officer, and we also have obviously Kent Curtis on our call today. So I would like to thank the board for the opportunity to present. First Southwest Bank is a Colorado-based community development financial institution. We are one of two CDFI banks in Colorado. As a CDFI, one of our primary initiatives is to support affordable housing in rural Colorado. We have a track record for creating unique capital stacks to ensure capital to be provided to those individuals or organizations that would not typically have such opportunities. We conduct business in consistent poverty counties, and we have branches in Saguache, Center, and Alamosa, which fall within that category. Our goal is to serve LMI households and the underserved with AHIF 23 funds. We hope to leverage these funds with bank funds and potentially additional third-party funding to provide the best low-cost scenario for end users. Third-party partnerships that will be utilized to support this initiative include housing organizations, local governments, other CDFI lenders, nonprofit organizations, and/or government guaranteed programs to increase the impact with these funds. Types of projects that we plan on supporting include mortgages for LMI borrowers, workforce housing projects, and mobile home park acquisitions. We've provided examples of these capital stacks on page 64 of the packet. With our current financial position, FSWB does not need to raise additional capital to leverage these funds, which will allow us to deploy loans immediately. We believe that the deployment of the creation of the pipeline could take up to 18 months, and we plan on potentially having these funds initiated within 36 months. So with that, I'll go ahead and open it up for questions, and want to thank you again for your consideration.
Thank you, Christy and Ken. Do we have any questions from the board? Rick?
Thank you again, Madam Chair. Hi, Ken and Christy. I'm aware of your work in Southwest Colorado around the Rural Homes Initiative. Just wanted to acknowledge and thank you for your support there, making those projects come to fruition. So my quick question is any of this tied to first mortgage lending, or is this all new development in these markets that you've targeted?
I was thinking more new projects. You mentioned the rural homes. I still have a commitment out to them for, I think, another $5 million at that 2.5% that they're doing down there. So I still have some money available for them. And as you may know, as a CDFI, we actually have access to some additional funds through Capital Magnet Fund, which we'll be applying for. We've never applied for Capital Magnet Fund. That's a national CDFI program. I'm pretty sure IDF has done that. So anyway, to answer your question on the mortgages, not really intending to use this money for mortgages, but certainly would consider that if you'd like us to.
I'm not making a recommendation. I just wanted to ask. So
Okay.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your work, Kent.
Yep. Thank you, Rick. Congratulations on the retirement, by the way. Wish I was there. So not quite there. I will say though, I did look at the minutes from last month's meeting and I see Stefka and Elevation received some money to pay us off on the West Side Mobile Home Park deal. I didn't know about that actually until I saw that. So
Andrew?
Yep. Rick, I will clarify that this particular application as underwritten did not contemplate direct to borrower first mortgage usage. It was kind of, as Kent indicated at the project level, kind of to developers or to cities, counties, towns, that kind of thing. We do have a few more AHIP 23 applications that we will be underwriting coming up, and those contemplate kind of direct to borrower first mortgages. So we may see more about that in upcoming meetings, but this particular application is not, as Kent indicated, geared towards that.
Any questions from the board? Andrew, would you like to present the housing preservation and commercial fund request from IDF?
Well, I will, but the next one is Colorado Clean Energy Fund. Happy to introduce Paul Scharfenberger from Colorado Clean Energy Fund. Very excited about this application, marrying kind of our Senate Bill 159 affordable housing investment funds, along with the state's priority in reducing greenhouse gases and promoting higher energy efficiency. So, Paul.
Great. Thanks so much, Andrew. And thanks so much for having me here today. As Andrew mentioned, my name is Paul Scharfenberger. I'm the CEO of the Colorado Clean Energy Fund. And thank you for the opportunity to join you today and for considering our application for a $10 million performance grant. I'd like to spend a few minutes introducing you to the Colorado Clean Energy Fund, and then I'll explain how we plan to use this performance grant. And then from there, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So the Colorado Clean Energy Fund is a 501c3 nonprofit financial institution that operates on the Green Bank model that was successfully pioneered in other states like Connecticut, New York, and Michigan. Green banks all take slightly different forms. Some are state entities, some are quasi-public entities, and some are nonprofits like CCF. But we all essentially attempt to do the same thing, which is to fill what we call clean energy finance gaps. So the types of projects that have a hard time getting financed, our mission is to step in and fill those gaps. And this essentially means that we don't seek to compete with already existing lending efforts that are working in the market. Instead, we identify underserved areas of the market, and we focus on developing financial vehicles that can address those gaps. And we ideally do it in a way that crowds in additional capital providers. That's kind of the name of the game for us. We recognize that Colorado won't meet its various policy goals related to climate change unless we unlock vast sums of private capital that's currently sitting on the sideline. So we feel a responsibility to help seed new markets, and then as capital providers crowd into an area within the sustainable infrastructure landscape, we then move on to other areas where private sector interest and activity is yet to be spurred. So for this specific funding request, CCF will expand its already existing high energy performing affordable housing fund. Through this fund, CCF provides a range of loan products, including pre-development, construction, and permanent debt to affordable housing developers and owners that are seeking to improve the energy performance of their developments. This fund can be used to support new construction and existing building rehabilitations and retrofits. Historically, these types of improvements have often been value engineered out of affordable housing projects because of the high upfront costs associated with them. The costs of various energy efficiency, building electrification, and clean energy measures have fallen dramatically over the past several years, but in some cases, these measures still carry a premium as compared to alternative infrastructure, which is where we come into the equation. These premiums can often be reduced and in some cases eliminated altogether by selecting a package of energy efficiency, electrification, and clean energy measures that make the most financial sense for each specific development, and then applying a really low cost of capital below market and flexible financing solutions that support that package of improvements. And in doing so, these investments will produce a multitude of benefits to affordable housing building owners, tenants, and society at large. The investments are good for the environment and support the administration's goals related to climate change. But in the context of the conversation today, these investments dramatically reduce the utility costs that building owners and tenants pay over time, which is often one of the highest operating costs associated with housing. This is significant in terms of maintaining the affordability of housing units over time. In addition, these improvements or investments also improve indoor air quality, public health outcomes, tenant comfort, and they create well-paying jobs in Colorado's clean energy industry. Lastly, the writing is on the wall. Colorado is poised to continue pushing advanced energy codes for new construction projects and possibly even major rehabilitation projects in the future. So this is a perfect time to use this funding to develop lasting partnerships within the affordable housing sector so that we're well positioned to meet future energy and building codes in a way that doesn't jeopardize the affordability of housing developments. So with that, I'm happy to open up to any questions that you may have for us. Thanks again for your consideration.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions from the board? Paul, do your funds require any level of certification or certain standard of sustainability that needs to be met for them to tap into the funds?
Yes, so this is something we really pride ourselves in. So unlike a lot of traditional lenders, we have people on staff that have a lot of technical expertise when it comes to these measures. So we will typically look at the scope of any project that we're evaluating and look to see how far is it pushing the bounds of high energy performance. We're mostly looking for electrification of buildings or electrification readiness, and we're trying to reduce greenhouse gas emissions as much as possible. We also recognize that there are some technological limitations still in this space, so we take a pragmatic approach to it, but our folks will essentially take a look at the proposed design of a project, and if we feel that it could be taken to the next level without compromising affordability, our folks will step in and provide those consulting services free of charge. So to answer your question directly, there isn't a hard and fast rule as to what it should achieve, but we're really looking at the design very closely to make sure that the developers are optimizing the performance while still maintaining the affordability of developments.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any questions from the board? Thanks for your presentation, Paul.
Great, thank you.
And Andrew, what about now for IDF?
Sounds good. Now I'd like to introduce the last two of the AHIP 23 applications. From Impact Development Fund, we have Sean Doherty and Megan Ferguson, and they have submitted two applications we're recommending for funding. One is their larger scale commercial AHIP 23 fund, and the second is their preservation specific AHIP 23 fund. So Sean and Megan, I'll let you start off and we'll tackle one of the initiatives at a time so the board can have an idea of which ones they're considering and considering voting on.
Great, thanks, Andrew. Yeah, Megan couldn't be here today, but really appreciate the time to meet over this. And just very briefly, IDF's background, we've been in business since 1999. During that time, we've deployed about, on our own balance sheet, about $300 million, primarily in support of affordable housing and mostly in the state of Colorado. We've actually deployed near that same amount on behalf of 50 plus additional agencies, again, with an affordability to their housing stock focus over that time, leveraging about $3 billion with our capital. 90% of the units that we have financed, whether it's for home ownership or multifamily, over our history has been in support of households that lower than 80% AMI, with over 50% supporting households at 50% AMI or less. And very, very grateful for your consideration of the next two applications. And, you know, I'll just touch on each briefly now so we don't have to come back to me in between. The I was thinking the preservation one was the first one to be considered. I think Andrew mentioned it's the second one, but let me talk about that first. This first application is a direct result of IDF's work with the Housing Preservation Network, HPN, over the past years. With a special and deep gratitude to Beth Truby from CHAFA. You know, she has served as an IDF board member over the years, and she's been just a tremendous thought partner as the group, as we've been quantifying and tackling the need to preserve already existing units in the state for safe and affordable housing. So along with CHAFA, Enterprise, Mercy, Weave, Sharing Connections, they've all been vital partners with IDF as we've teamed together to address the preservation challenges, not least of which is the lack of the traditional deeper subsidy available for preservation versus new development, although there's challenges there obviously as well. But preservation can be a very tough nut to crack given the lack of those traditional resources. In regarding the second application, these funds, they'll go a long way to addressing IDF's, we have a current pipeline of $44 million. Those projects, they include just a myriad of different funding needs, including site acquisition, pre-development, gap financing, semi-permanent, even permanent sources to complete the capital stack. We do typically, when these funds are vital in that we can marry them to other sources of capital that we've garnered directly for this purpose as well, including the Capital Magnet Fund, which we've got a couple rounds of allocation for. Just critical, flexible other capital sources, this being a tremendous primary one in that capital mix, along with the commercial banks and foundations and municipalities, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want to thank Andrew and his team again for bringing these before you today. And obviously I'm ready, willing, and able to answer any questions you might have. So thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions from the board? Sean, I am working on an acquisition loan, and they have a term sheet from Impact Development Fund. Not sure which one of your programs it's through, but it was interesting to me because no principal and interest payments were required until, gosh, I believe maybe year 20. Is that a common structure for you all? And what is your thinking behind that?
Yeah, so Anthea, that goes directly to my point. Like we've got two different awards from the CDFI fund. Capital Magnet Fund's incredibly competitive program, but they are truly the most flexible of any funds we've seen. And so the way those work, we got a $5 million award, and then in round two, for us, we got a $10 million award. So I think that's what you're talking about, Anthea. And the way those are structured are literally like we absolutely do not want any cash flow from those for the first 10 years. If we get it back, then we have to redeploy it. And you can imagine federal regulations kind of come into play. It makes it very difficult. So we structure those funds that we literally will accrue at simple interest, 1 or 2%, depending on which round they came in. You can't pay us any money. And again, it's simple, it's not compounding. In year 10, what it does, it switches to a term, an amortizing loan. So you capitalize whatever interest is accrued. And at that point, it becomes an 8-year term loan with a 20-year amortization. So incredibly flexible has made the primary difference in making projects happening or not over the last 3 years that we've been fortunate enough to deploy those funds.
That is wonderful. It's definitely creative and helpful. Are you willing to take second position to the senior lender?
Yeah, we've done some unsecured where that's been just absolutely necessary based on other investors being in there. They couldn't have another secured partner. We've gone, I I think IDF, including CMF, has gone into third and fourth position when we've got use of the capital magnet funds.
Great. I appreciate that, Sean. Any questions from the board? All right, hearing none. Thanks again, Sean. And I believe it's time to vote. Does anybody need to recuse themselves from voting on any of the project applications? Okay, let's go ahead and take them all as a slate with the exception of Residences on Acoma, which I'm recusing myself from. So if I could ask for a motion of approval for all of the applications with the exception of Residences on Acoma from one of the board members, please.
So moved. James Martinez.
Thank you, James.
Second, Ryan Moses.
Thank you, Ryan. All those in favor signified by aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, wonderful. Thank you all. And then I can ask for a motion of approval for Residences on Acoma.
So moved. This is Ladon.
Thanks, Ladon.
I second that, Nancy.
Thank you, Nancy, for the second. All those in favor signified by aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and I'm recusing. Excellent. Well, thank you all for your proposals today. I appreciate all these wonderful projects. Again, congratulations, Rick Garcia, for your service, for your retirement.
Absolutely.
Look forward to seeing you for the next few board meetings, and we will see you all in a couple of weeks.
Thank you so much. Live your best life, Rick.
Congratulations, Rick. Bye, everybody.